Fantasy Six-Pack Hour with your hosts, Joe Bob and AJ Applegarth.
Welcome back to the Fantasy Six-Pack Hour. As I forgot the banners, it's been a while. Sorry, I forgot everything. AJ's fixing his cell phone because his computer decided not to work. So we're just going to have to deal with this for a minute. But anyway, man, welcome back, AJ. Welcome back, everybody. Glad to be here. And first off, man, we just got to say thank you, Davis Pang, for that awesome new intro, man. We had the football one. AJ, Jesus, man, what are you doing? Thought you said you were ready. No, that ain't it. It was better where it was.
I know. Chill down.
We had the football one. Now we've got a baseball-themed intro, and it is fantastic. Oh, Jesus, whatever that was, don't do that. AJ's a mess.
Everything.
Just leave it where it was, man. It was fine. Just down. Anyway. All right, guys. While he's doing that, I will talk some more. Again, we're here starting our fantasy baseball draft season shows, getting you ready for the 2023 fantasy baseball season. Today, we're going to be talking about some fantasy baseball, the prospects that are going to be coming up this season that you need to be aware of. But before we jump into that, just make sure you guys hit those subscribe buttons, hit the like buttons, leave comments, leave reviews. We appreciate it, and it goes a long way in helping us out. And hot off the presses, just last night we launched our new Fantasy Six-Pack memberships. So we had football memberships before. Now it is site-wide. So all sports for the same price as before. So go to fantasysixpack.net/plans and type in promo code F, the number 6P, and then MLB for 15% off. Guys, you're going to want to get in on this. Like, we've got our award-winning rankings. We've got cheat sheets that I built. There's Discord access as well. We've got other DFS tools. We've got projections. We've got betting advice. There is so much to be had behind our memberships. It is well worth the money. I promise you, you won't regret it. But that being said, let's introduce our guests, because AJ and I don't really know anything about prospects, so we got to bring people on to tell us everything. So coming back to the show, we're going to bring on Chris Blessing first. Baseball HQ. What's up, man? It's been a while, but glad to have you back. What's up?
Oh, this is awesome, man. It's always great to be on the show. Thank you for having me. Good to get started on time for once.
Almost. We would have been on time, but
Are we, though?
AJ's technical difficulties, but close. And then writer for Fantasy Six-Pack. You've probably seen him on the YouTube channel a few times. Mr. Dave Eddy, what is up, man?
To be fair, we talked about this yesterday. I don't technically write anything.
True. You don't have to.
I'm just a pretty face on
YouTube. You wrote your Dynasty Baseball article, I guess. That's sort of, and you wrote all the those Dynasty, whatever, the journals or whatever the hell you want to call them, those strategy pieces that you had. Those are great. So
in my younger days, I dabbled.
All right, guys. So yeah, we're gonna be jumping in and talking about some of the prospects who are gonna make an impact this season. Yeah, prospects, right? Who are gonna make an impact this 2023 season. So we do mainly focus on redraft on this show. We've got the On Deck Circle podcast run by Jason and Nick. They usually go live on Wednesdays. So check that one out, but they usually do the deep dive into like the Dynasty content. So if you want that, check them out. But before we jump into that, let's do our beer of the week.
Beer.
All right. Chris, you can go first. What you got?
Yes, I brought this before. It's Tropicalia. Nice, fun little bottle can from Creature Comfort. I went to the liquor store today, package store as they call them here in Georgia, and this was the only beer that was fresh, so that I would drink. So that's why I brought it today. It's one of my favorite beers. So not anything new, but if you're down here in Georgia, I think in Tennessee, South Carolina, maybe even Florida, get yourself some Tropicalia. It's pretty awesome.
Good stuff, man. No, it's all good. You can bring back repeats. We don't mind at all.
I just feel lazy, Joe.
It's all right. It's okay. Dave, yours is a surprise. You wouldn't tell us. So what you got, man?
Well, I'll tell you, this is very true to my form when it comes to beer or alcohol, if you will, in this case. Usually I come on here with like a Bud Light or something really basic. And this time I just want to stay true to myself and go with something that I'm actually more likely to drink. But I'll just tell you up front, it's a very bitch move. Nonetheless, I have a Seagram's Island Berry here.
Oh, God.
And typically, I was disappointed I didn't have the Jamaican Me Happy because I do enjoy that one. So I had to settle for this Island Berry.
Do you drink like Smirnoff Ices too? What the hell is this?
I don't drink. This is the only time I drink. I drink at the Fantasy Football Expo and I drink on the Fantasy Six-Pack Hour.
Oh, so you're just blaming us?
That is correct.
Well,
okay.
If he brings something like that, like if he brings something like that to the show, at least have a Hawaiian shirt on.
Yeah, right.
I should have. Yeah, I could have done that.
We don't judge. Yeah, we don't judge alcoholic beverages here unless you bring a Seagram's. Then we're gonna judge a little.
Hey, listen, I'm just keeping it true to myself, man. This is what I would prefer. So here we are.
Hey, you drink what you like. I'm okay with it.
Thanks, AJ.
Who are these other guys?
Okay, speaking of AJ, what do you got, man? Let's move this along.
All right, I myself am. I don't know if this will even work, but
we see it.
I'm drinking a double Nugget Nectar from Trogues Brewing up in PA. It's a 9.5% multi deliciousness double IPA. Yeah, nice. I don't know. It's awesome. And it only comes out. It's like a limited release.
Yeah, they do it like once a year, right?
Yeah, this January time frame. So even though we're in February.
All right. So I'm bringing one that I've held in my fridge for a few weeks, waiting for the shows to restart. It is from Calvert Brewing Company. It's called Dr. Juice. It's got the Dr. Seuss theme. It's a pretty cool can. I like it. I gave this one a 4. It's an Imperial IPA. So cheers, guys.
All right.
Okay, let's jump into things here. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna we're gonna run position by position, and so for everybody listening and watching, we're gonna mention a couple guys, and then Dave and Chris will do most of the talking here, as they are the experts on these guys, way more than me and AJ. But so starting with the catcher position. All three of these guys are still considered prospects, but they did debut last year. Francisco Alvarez for the Mets, Logan O'Hoppe for the Angels, and Bo Naylor for the Cleveland Guardians. I'm actually glad I didn't say Indians. I almost did.
You just did.
So I know.
Go Guardians.
Chris, we will let you have the floor first. Which one of these guys do you want to speak about? Sorry.
Well, the great thing is for the minor league baseball analyst, which is on sale through the Baseball HQ website, which is our minor league baseball book. I actually had all three of these catchers, all three of these organizations to write up this year. So I'm very familiar with all of them. I'm going to start with actually Francisco Alvarez. I think because people, let's just say what we're going to say. Mets fans are clamoring for Alvarez. Very impressive. I mean, the guy hits the ball hard, good launch angle, gets good loft off the bat. All these things that as a scout you kind of look for. His contact rate has gotten worse as he's gotten higher up, and it's mainly due to spin recognition issues. He's still he's incredibly raw. And that's what makes him so talented. I mean, he hit 277 in Double A last year. Kind of had some issues in Triple A, but was better as the season wore on, or as that stint wore on. It's big power, lots of power, 70 grade power to all fields. And it's a very easy swing. The thing that he needs to fix is that recognition problem. So I've been cautioning fantasy managers to not really put all their eggs in the Alvarez basket this year, especially with the Omar Narvaez signing. Obviously they're probably going to start this guy out in AAA, and that's where he probably needs to be to start the season. I think that there's a chance for a all-star outcome with this guy, and you don't want to mess it up getting him too exposed too early on.
No, fair enough. I definitely agree, and yeah, I think he's going to be a later season guy in my opinion. But Dave, who do you want to take and speak on?
I think obviously Alvarez has got the pedigree and the ceiling that you want. I'm actually extraordinarily intrigued with Endy Rodriguez, and I don't think that he's the prototypical catcher that you used to seeing, or what you think of as a catcher. Like for me, when I'm playing whatever format, relief pitching and catchers are two things that I usually just kind of brush aside, and we'll get to it when we get to it. And a guy like Rodriguez is just really interesting to me because he is so athletic for a catcher. He's a guy that can play around the field as well. I don't know that we'll see him do that at the major league level, but he can play second, he can play outfield. So that speaks a lot to just the athleticism and versatility that he has. But at the plate, he's terrific. He's got great plate discipline. He doesn't really wow you with either the speed, or with the power or like the contact, but he's extraordinarily, I think, good at both. And I think that's impressive. And then he's a switch hitter as well. And anytime you get a guy that can hit from both sides of the plate, that's going to theoretically give him more opportunity to play, which is huge for, a catcher in fantasy. So the athleticism, the switch hitting and all that, it just leads me to think that, even if you might get an extra handful of games out of him over the course of a season compared to other catchers, I think that that's very valuable.
When do you actually expect him to come up? Because right now, he hasn't debuted yet. So when do you expect him to come in and what would you suggest for fantasy managers to do with him?
Well,
obviously not drafting him, right?
No, I'll start off and I'll say ETAs are oftentimes tough because they can depend on, a whole variety of things. Now he's going to start in AAA, and obviously that puts him, right on the doorstep of the big leagues. I don't think, there's really much of a chance you see him before, the All-Star break. After that, it's anyone's guess. Mostly it's going to depend on how he's doing. I don't think the Pirates can be fighting for, a playoff spot. So I don't think that's going to bump up his time frame any. But if I had to take a stab, I would say, we see him at the end of the year, September-ish kind of a thing. Probably not any sooner than that.
Okay.
I'm just going to throw this out there. Like it's a catcher that hasn't caught as much as he should. And I think that's, he's pretty much bypassed the catcher that he was splitting time with, Henry Davis, the first-round pick from a few years ago. So I think that even complicates the ETA even more. My understanding from the context that I've talked to, they've said that he's going to be a catcher, and if he ends up elsewhere, it's mostly due to Davis getting better, because Davis really only has the one position where Rodriguez has multiples.
I don't know if the DH in the NL now will make a massive difference or not, but that obviously opens things up a little bit.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So last quick question. Do you guys think any of these, who are considered prospect catchers are worth drafting in a normal sized redraft league?
I'll go first. I think that the other two guys that you've mentioned are the better, safer bets. I've always had this thing, Ohapi and Naylor.
Is it
and
Ohapi?
Ohapi, I don't know. Ohap?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Probably should have looked
really
that up
bad.
beforehand.
I work so hard with the Latino names that I guess I get a nice hop or Ohapi and don't really know what to do with it. But I'm really interested when I see a catcher come up with high contact rates, and both of these guys have high contact rates relative to other catchers. So I'm not somebody who drafts rookie catchers. I don't know if Dave is. I doubt. He doesn't look like somebody who would. But you never know. But if I'm going to take a chance on one, it's going to be one with contact ability.
Yeah, no,
and
I
both
definitely,
these guys
definitely agree with that. So I think, AJ, you're in on your computer. You fixed? We good? Testing, maybe?
Fixed like a dog.
Oh, God, you need to turn off your phone. Holy cow. Yep, there we go.
Hearing you once is bad enough.
Man.
I said fixed like a dog.
All right. So we're going to put you back where you were. So, all right, man, you want to lead the first base conversation here now that we've got you back in action?
I do indeed. I had a little bit of a hard time trying to find some guys here, but basically, I know we talked about Tristan Casas last year, I believe.
Probably did.
And we also have Matt Mervis. So, Dave, which one of these two guys interests you?
I mean, for redraft purposes, neither, I guess, would be my my answer. I mean, but between the two of them, I mean, I think we're more likely to see Casas, as far as more plate appearances this year.
Agreed.
But I mean, I don't know. I don't know what that Boston lineup is going to look like, and he's not a guy that I expect to come up and make a strong immediate impact. He was someone I feel like would probably need, some protection, and he's going to be batting behind the guys that would serve as that protection theoretically. You know what I mean? So,
right now he's got Mondesi right after him, according to the roster resource. That's not protection.
Yeah, fantastic.
For like a day.
Yeah, it's like
I don't think either one of these guys for this season. I'm really interested in drafting.
Yeah. So you want to say Chris, a little piece on Matt Mervis here?
I'll say a little thing on Matt Mervis. I included him because he's been kind of a popular name, and Dave can attest to this. That it's kind of popped up as a guy, even in redrafts, not just in Dynasty. I got to see Mervis in the Arizona Fall League this year. Somehow missed him at Tennessee. Tennessee came to town all the time, and he never was in the lineup. But anyway, big kid. Really kind of my issue here and why I don't think he is ready for the show is, I don't think the Cubs believe he's ready for the show. Considering they brought in a lot of guys that would fill out first base, DH, corner outfield, kind of on the veteran. I don't want to call it a veteran minimum, but like they didn't pay much money for these veterans to come and take time from this kid. But it's a very quick left-handed swing. It generates very easy off-field power. It showed some potential, especially when it got to AAA last year. It really took off. And when you're looking at AAA stats, you got to kind of almost throw them out sometimes because the ball is so live there right now. So I kind of used his AA and, kind of backed off in my analysis of where I think he's going to be. Seeing him in the Arizona Fall League, there were definite holes in his coverage, like you would expect from a tall left-handed batter. The fastball up was an equalizer, even though the level of competition he was facing wasn't like great or anything, but you could tell that was an issue. And he had a tendency to chase on the breaking ball. I just don't see him ready for the show right now.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's gonna be hard for him to find a way to get in that lineup when Hosmer, Mancini, and even Bellinger can all play first, right? I mean, like, so you would think like an injury would open it up, but they've got guys they can just slot in there instead. So, yeah, it's gonna be tough to see him. But all right. Hopefully we can finally get to somebody who will make an impact, but maybe not so much with the second base position. I'm going to destroy this name.
Edward Julian.
You got it correct. Like
Nice.
that was awesome.
Thank you, AJ.
You know, Joe, you skipped over the first base future stars.
We're doing that.
We'll get into that later.
Oh,
Yeah.
well,
That's
I'm stupid and
my
I'll shut up.
screw up.
Yep, we're doing that at the end.
Fair enough.
So
I read.
anyway,
Don't worry. You had one guest that read the sheet. You're welcome.
one likes to prepare, one doesn't like to prepare. It's cool. We know. You just gave it away, Dave. It's kind of like the co-hosts. One likes to prepare, one doesn't like to
prepared this
prepare.
show.
We know who that is. Anyway,
Me. I'm always not on time.
are you using your actual camera or are you using your laptop camera? It's very odd looking right now. I'm just gonna let you know. All right. Anyway,
You look vintage.
so since there's only one, yeah, right. It's only one second base. Who wants it? Who wants to raise our hand and take this guy? All right,
I'm
Chris.
taking him. You know
Got
why?
it.
Because I saw him in the Arizona Fall League.
Okay,
And,
you got it.
so, like, one of the things that happens, and this is for the audience, one of the things that happens is the guy performs during first pitch Arizona week in Arizona, where a bunch of fantasy folks are at. They kind of start climbing up these prospect boards, and not even just prospect boards, but also redraft leagues. I actually really like Julian a lot, to the point that I've acquired him in several leagues at this point, mostly because he's a very unique prospect in today's game, a guy that barely swings and misses. But what he especially does well is he doesn't chase. Like he doesn't, there's no bad swing. This isn't a guy that's going to bang a lot of home runs. This isn't a guy that's, maybe not going to steal. So, I know he stole like 19 bases last year.
Yeah,
Probably
solid
like
year.
maybe in the 10 range or something like that. But he's going to be a guy that's just going to be solidly good. I don't see a path to playing time. There's a lot of guys in Minnesota that kind of lay claim to being a little bit ahead of this guy. But like, if you're somebody who's been hoping for another one of their prospects, Austin Martin, to develop, get off of him, going on Julian. Austin Martin, just throw away your shares at this point. It does not look good. But really, that's Edward Julian in a nutshell.
So when you say you've acquired him in a few leagues, you're probably talking about your dynasty leagues. You're not talking like you're targeting him in a redraft.
That's
So
the one redraft that I've done so far. I acquired him at the very end of the draft.
Interesting.
I do. Well, let me rephrase that. I do a lot of just draft champions because I don't have time
So
to
deeper.
mess with Fab, but like I
So this
picked
would
him
be
up
like
in the 30s.
Yeah, like 30th
before
round,
then.
right? Because those are like best ball type leagues.
Yeah.
So, okay, yeah. Just wanted to make sure we clarified that with
Yeah.
everybody. You got anything to add to that, Dave, or you just want us to move on to the shortstop position?
No, I think we can move on.
All right.
That's not just
AJ
don't
looks
even
like
know.
he's in like an old timey, like I don't know what the hell is
It's
going
like
on.
a Western.
Like we were better off with the cell phone, dude. I don't know what's happening here.
He took the blue pill and he's in the Matrix now.
I'm trying to find a goddamn
idea
red
what's
pill and I can't.
No idea what's happening over here.
I'm fucking with the
Welcome
cameras,
back,
man.
AJ. Like, geez, man, what the hell
This
happened?
is what
while
happens
we were
when
off
you
for
give me a
month?
month off and my birthday happens to be in that month. Weird things.
Bad shit happens apparently. All right,
I don't know.
why don't we talk about some
Do you want me to
shortstops?
just disappear then? Is
Oh
that-
my god, that's getting worse somehow. Okay, stop it. Move on.
Best show ever. All right. Shortstop. So this is just an absolute loaded position in general. So I think we'll we'll name these three guys. One of them did debut last year, and that's Ezekiel Tovar with Colorado. We got Anthony Volpe with the Yankees, who we've talked about a little bit, and Ellie De La Cruz with Cincy. Him and Volpe are both, top 10 prospects, at least by MLB's rankings. So, Dave, we'll start with you. Which one of these three guys moves the needle for you?
I mean, it's Elly De La Cruz for sure. I don't know how much, if any, we see him at the major league level, this year, but I watched quite a bit of him play. And one thing that I was really focused on is, I think a lot of people, the knock on him is not his bat. Like, I don't think anyone's concerned about his bat. I don't think anyone's concerned about his speed. Everyone's concerned about, what he's going to do in the field. And I know this isn't necessarily so fantasy relevant, but I was actually impressed in the probably dozen games that I saw him play last year. I don't think he sticks at shortstop. I think, and I'd be interested to hear what Chris thinks, I think he eventually is a third baseman, but he's a third baseman who is he's gonna hit. He's an exciting player. He's way taller and lankier than than I think people think he is, but he's gonna fill out. And he's going to be a guy that's going to straight up hit.
Holy cow.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I love him. Again, I don't know what you're going to get, if anything, this year in redraft necessarily, but this guy is going to be a stud.
Yeah, he's the guy that, your woman tells you not to worry about.
Wow. Okay.
All right, so I'm gonna play a little.
We're this. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate here. Again, I've told people, I don't know where I've told people, but in plenty of podcasts, last year was the absolute grindiest season I ever had. And then De La Cruz got called up to Chattanooga, and it was like a moment where you feel saved because you got to actually watch something interesting. And like Dave, I think he has a better chance at sticking it short than most people give him credit for. His third base work was kind of rough. He was not comfortable. His reactions at the base, at third base, the hot corner didn't really jive. It might have been just because it was a new position. When he got to Double-A, he was being platooned somewhat at shortstop. Matt McClain was there, who looks phenomenal as the second baseman, by the way. It does not look half the shortstop that De La Cruz is. I believe he sticks it short. The reason why he's not in the major leagues this year is breaking ball recognition. I got to scout him against Ben Brown, who's a Chicago Cubs. I wanted to say reliever. He's a prospect, but he's a very raw guy who. He's an older prospect, and there's probably not as good of a chance of him starting type deal. But he has phenomenal feel for spin. And De La Cruz looked horrible. He went 0 for 3 against him. I think he struck out twice. It was a good and I saw it with other guys too, but it was a good little snapshot of where he needs to be against advanced pitching and the breaking pitches. But what happened later in the game, he nearly hit for a cycle, and the game went into extra innings. He got 4 hits. It was a home run, triple, a double, and another double. He missed it on the single type deal. But it was literally against subpar pitching, and that's what I saw him beat up when he was in Double-A. He just beat up the guys that he should have beaten up. Younger, and that's what people forget. The right hand swings is much cruder than the left hand swing, but still, this guy hasn't failed at any level yet. He's a tremendous talent. He's just not going to be there this year unless something, And we've seen it before. We saw it with Luis Robert, who looked kind of lost with the breaking pitch the year before he came. and debuted with the White Sox. So like you just never know with these guys. But like right now, it's very hard to see him debut this year.
Yeah, I think he's supremely talented, but I think he's just far too raw. And I don't as impressed as I was with him defensively, with all the stuff you hear about how poor he can play defensively. I was impressed with the defense, and he was playing third in the majority of the games that I saw.
Yeah.
So this is going to be more of a selfish reason why I'm asking, because I do have him in a dynasty league that I'm in. Anthony Volpe, I'm just curious what your all's thoughts are about him and where and when he eventually makes a debut.
I'll take this one first. First off, let's talk about what position he plays. Second base or shortstop. He's done a lot of work to try to get a strong arm for shortstop. It hasn't really shown up yet. I would say that right now, like if he's really that special in an offensive talent, I guess he ends up at shortstop. But if he isn't, he's likely going to be a very good second baseman, both offensively and all that good stuff. Last year, he got caught trying to maybe do a little too much early on. He has a tremendous launch angle, and it might have gotten too much. He wasn't getting the same hard contact that he was. But like the stuff that he did kind of like in the second half of the year, the launch angle, I wouldn't say got like closer to linear, because it didn't. It was still steep, but it wasn't like Phil Flantier level for the older fans out there who like just gripped it and ripped it and tried to hit a home run every time. But like he didn't need to go extreme steep launch angle. The previous year, like the amount of angles that like the degree of angles that he was getting lift off of to both the pull and the opposite field gap were amazing. So I kind of saw this as a guy that was maybe pressing a bit, trying to hit more home runs, trying to get ready for the big leagues. I think he will be somebody who just kind of finds his way to the major league sometime in May. I think that they'll grow tired of the other guy. What's his name? I'm sorry, I can't remember the shortstop that debuted last year. Somebody help me. Yankees.
Peraza.
I hate the Yankees.
Peraza, thank you.
Peraza.
I because Peraza Peraza's going to get like exposed for not having any sort of game plan at the plate. Like I believe that's going to happen. And I think this guy will be up there, and I think that he'll maintain the position for the rest of the year. I think that I don't really target guys like this in redraft that aren't up at the beginning of the year, but like he would be a guy that I would, because I believe that he'll have an impact, especially with the home run ball and being able to steal bases.
All right.
Yeah,
I like it.
I mean, I don't know. The ETA is that's where I struggle. I mean, Chris says May. I can see May. I can see it. I don't see it being really earlier, but I could definitely see it being later. He's a guy to me that has the typical struggles of what you see from a young player, and like he was talking about with De La Cruz, struggles against spin, and I think that that's very common. So I don't necessarily consider that like a knock on him, because we see that everywhere. But he's a very aggressive player, and I don't think that serves him super great in the box, but it helps him a lot on the path, because this guy has got good speed, and he is not afraid to steal bases. And we were talking about this last night whenever we're doing some of the team previews, Joe, where I said speed is not indicative of steals. Like obviously speed is extraordinarily helpful, but it's much more about either the team approach or that person's just feel for the game. And this is a guy that is very aggressive on the base paths, has got the speed to do it. And now we're going to see, the bigger bag at the major league level. So if anything, the speed is probably something that when he comes up, you're going to be able to rely on. And then with the bat, you never really do know until they get to that level of pitching and just see how they adjust and then how the pitchers adjust to them and, and all that fun stuff. But I think the speed is going to be in play from day one.
All right.
Quick.
gonna
Ezekiel
mention
Tovar,
that.
avoid. Just avoid Ezekiel Tovar.
Yeah,
The guy has no approach at the plate. He's just going to swing at a bunch of stuff. But he has a chance of having regular playing time because he is very good defensively. This is a kid, just like what Dave mentioned. Like I think he didn't need to be in the big leagues last year at all. I don't think he was ready for it. I don't think he really showed it. I think that they just threw him out there. I firmly believe that he'll get a lot of playing time because it's the Rockies this year, but it's going to be rough.
And I do think that Tovar is a classic example, though, of a better real life player than a fantasy player.
100%.
All right. Cool. Joe, third base, lead us off.
All right.
Or do we want to skip this and wait till the future?
Third base, led by Gunnar Henderson, who did have a very, very good. I think he basically just comes under the threshold of being prospect eligible. So he's like clear number one. He had quite a few at bats last year, 116. So he is just prospect eligible, but still counts. So we've got Gunnar Henderson, obviously Baltimore. We got Brett Bailey for the Mets and Josh Jung for the Rangers. I clearly want to talk. I want to hear, because Henderson's ADP is like skyrocketing high in my opinion. Who wants to take him? Because I want to hear about him.
Let's go with Dave.
Oh, you want me to go?
Yeah,
Dave,
you go
you got
first on this.
I mean, Gunnar Henderson. Dude. First of all, he's an athlete, right? He's a guy that looks like a ball player, and just has every physical tool, that I think that you would want to see, from somebody. He's obviously got the speed, which, again, with the bigger bag and whatnot, we'll see if we end up getting more steals league wide, where it makes them a little less valuable in fantasy or not. But again, very aggressive in my opinion. He's a guy that I don't know, Joe. I don't know what his ADP is. I haven't really looked into that, so I guess I can't really speak to if I would draft him around his ADP. I will say that.
I'll tell you. Hang on.
I don't think he's asking you.
Quick little. Gunnar Henderson, ADP right now across multiple sources on average is 88 overall.
88 overall. So a normal league, that's like in the 7th round.
7, yeah.
So he is the 8th third baseman taken right now on average. Ahead of guys like Suarez, Muncy, Chapman, Ty France, Miranda. Those guys are way below.
But third base.
There is a large gap between.
Yeah,
there is a large ADP gap in overall between him and the next third baseman, Suarez, like 88 to 135. So he's like the
where it falls off. For me in redraft, I look to fill third base fairly quickly because it is fairly weak. So I probably will not come away with Gunnar Henderson very often because I'm going to be, I wouldn't say reaching, but I'm going to be filling that position before I'm forced to take a guy like a Gunnar Henderson. I wouldn't hate taking him, but I think that, if you're going to draft him, you probably want to have a team, that you've drafted before him that's safe because, with being how young he is, you really don't quite know what you're going to get. He could be an absolute steal, in the 80s, but he absolutely could be a dumpster fire as well. So, I'm reaching that third base, so I don't think I'm going to end up with him, but I would want a pretty safe roster, to kind of insulate, what you could potentially get out of him.
All right,
All right.
I'm taking over as host here. We've got some Orioles fans here who have seen him. I would hope since I see a lot of Orioles stuff in these
Yeah.
pictures. What are your guys' thoughts on him, having seen him debut last year?
I thought he was pretty impressive. It was. It's hard to compare him to Manny coming up and how good he was and turned out to be, pretty quick. But I see a little bit of that. I think he's got the speed, he's got the tools, obviously, to help out in a redraft league. But eighth round is probably a little rich for me too. I'm kind of with you, Dave. I want to fill my third base and be done with it. Mm-hmm. And even if I'm in leagues with corner infield, I'm probably putting somebody at first there, just because I can find better value later, I think, or take a shot in the dark on a Ty France or something. That's kind of where I am with him. I mean, I'd love to have him, being a bit of a homer, but I just don't know if I'll end up reaching on him.
Joe?
Yeah, I agree. I think he's being overdrafted as I think everybody's trying to draft him for the potential ceiling, but I'm not sure this is going to be the year that is going to happen for him. The Orioles honestly, I thought they were going to go spend some money this year. That's what we heard, but they didn't. And so the lineup is still going to struggle at times. There will be, yes, we all love Rutschman. We all like Henderson, but it's just still not a good lineup, period.
Angelos won't even spend money for Park Mobile.
Dude, I mean, it's bad. I mean, they went out and traded for Cole Irvin. Yeah, cool. It's a little bit of an upgrade, but come on. There were so many pitchers out there. They just didn't splurge on any of them. Very disappointing as an O's fan. With the young guys that are there, maybe next year's the year, I guess, that they go for it. But I don't know. I just think people are a little too excited for what I think is going to be a good season for him, but it's not going to translate to a really, really good fantasy season. You're going to look back and go, he's an average fantasy player. And, you look at 20 bombs maybe and 10 stolen bases. Okay. That doesn't move the needle. That's not winning you a league.
You can find that elsewhere.
You can find that much later in drafts. Mm-hmm. You can find that off the waiver wire. You don't need to draft Henderson where he's going right now to get those fairly mediocre stats, really, when it comes down to it in the end of the day.
I'll be honest. I think that when you said 88th, I was surprised because I felt like his hype with the weakness of the third base would have taken him closer to 60. And I would have been there's no way I draft at 60. I don't draft him in the 60s. But there's
I bet he
rises.
I bet he rises.
I bet he does too. I mean, the third base position just
I've got him at overall 100, so I'm below the ADP. So, but and that's I could go lower, and I could go lower. I really could.
And that's where I kind of see him. I do want to throw some things out there. I've his minor league. This is a guy that has very good zone recognition. He's not going to swing. He's going to swing and miss, but he's not going to chase as much as some other guys. He's a little more advanced in that respect. Yeah. He also here's my favorite stat of him. His 90th percentile exit velocity in the minor leagues was 107 miles per hour. I mean, this guy, when he gets it good.
Oh yeah, he can hit the crap out of the ball.
His ability to loft the high walk rate will possibly come. I'd like him better in an on-base percentage league this year if that's the redraft that you're looking at. I would draft him higher than 88 in that. But for me, he's a guy that's I wouldn't touch until about 100, 110.
Yeah, makes sense.
And that's really mostly because of the position. It's just such a bad position this year.
Yeah, once you get past that, like tier 1 guys, like and you clearly know who those guys are. They have very good pedigree. I'm waiting. If I miss on all those guys, I'm just waiting. It doesn't even matter. Other guys here. Anybody want to talk about Brett Beatty or Josh Jung?
I'll just quickly just throw out my opinion. I'm curious. I'm very curious to see how Young does this year. He looked like a guy that, for those that don't know, he missed most of the season with the shoulder issue. That's one of the hardest injuries to come back from as a hitter. He looked like he was a step. No, I shouldn't say step. He looked a little bit. His swing looked a little bit slower than it did pre-injury. And that's concerning because it didn't really feel like the electricity was there. I was looking at his AAA stats. They definitely were. His exit velocities, max X, and watching him. But that's AAA. And, I already explained how that was concerning. So I really, when I was looking at him this year, I really dug into those major league at-bats and just didn't see that electricity that he had late last year, late 2021. And then really quickly with Beatty, I would assume that at some point he overtakes Eduard Escobar for the starting third base job for the Mets. I don't know if people are completely sold on him at third base. I think he's workable there. Yeah, he played some left field. I heard it wasn't spectacular. Wait, it was okay. The one that wasn't spectacular was when Vientos went out there, Mark Vientos. Another guy that is in the Mets system that made his major league debut is a natural third baseman as well. Probably doesn't play there either. But anyway, Beatty, I was surprised at how much he had some swing and miss in his profile. I was always kind of sold on the fact that he was more contact oriented. And when I saw him in the Arizona Fall League, that's what I kind of thought. But then again, Arizona Fall League pitching is really bad. That was in 2021. So for me, of those two guys, Young has the best possibility this year of playing time, and he would be kind of a sleeper towards the end of a redraft for me, just to grab a third baseman on the cheap that might be recovered from his issues. Beatty, I'm not on as much this year, but I think Beatty might end up being the better player, if that makes sense.
All right. Well, I hate the Mets, so let's move on to outfield.
All right, Phillies fan.
I love the Mets because they just spend a F ton of money and still don't go anywhere. So it's kind of like the Cowboys.
They try at least.
That's true.
All right.
All right.
And they don't claim to be America's team either. So.
Well, exactly. Yeah. All right. So we got Corbin Carroll, who we saw a little bit of last year, number 2 overall prospect for Arizona. We got Jordan Walker, who had multi-position eligibility. We got Sal Frelick, and we got another Oriole, shocking, Colton Cowser. Dave, which one of these guys, is interesting to you for redraft, if any of them?
I have loved Corbin Carroll for a long time. I know this isn't a betting show, but get your bets in for Corbin Carroll Rookie of the Year right now, because this guy, when he's healthy, is ridiculously special. I could honestly see 5 years from now, we're talking about Corbin Carroll being arguably the best player in baseball. He is ridiculous. There's not really anything he can't do. He's going to step on the field as maybe the fastest player, in baseball. So, that means he's got every ability in the world to, hopefully stick in center field. You don't have to worry about, him defensively for anything. I mean, if we had to poke a little bit of a hole into things, I guess I wish he had more power. But it's not like he's lacking there. But that would be about the only negative that I could say is, he's not going to put up, high end power numbers. But I think everything else, he is the dude.
All right.
Yeah. All right.
I concur.
All right. So moving on to the next guy then. What about Jordan Walker, Chris? I'm kind of interested in him.
So Walker got to see him in the Arizona Fall League. 2020, he was the only prospect I saw in person doing some associate scout work for an organization. Saw him really bad against really bad pitching too. So it was kind of disconcerting to see such a great prospect fail against bad pitching. But that's why the scouts go out multiple times. You never know what you're going to see from day to day. Who knows? He could have been sick that day. But anyway, hits the ball hard. 107, 108, 90th percentile exit velocities. This is a guy that there's going to just be a lot of swing and miss in his profile, mostly because he's a big dude. When I saw him in high school, he was playing shortstop, and it was almost comical seeing this very beefy 6'5" guy who looked like he could be playing linebacker on the football team at Decatur High School, playing shortstop. It just was so unnatural. But going back to the sort of athlete that he is big and beefy, but he is. I got a plus run time off of him in the Arizona Fall League. He had 22 stolen bases. It takes him a while to kind of get going. Saw him make a pretty good play in right field. The outfield play overall was kind of crude, but he's a guy that just started out there. If that makes people feel better. I think he's up at some point fairly early, and I want to say kind of like June early, before the All-Star break.
Well, where do you think he fits, though? I mean, that outfield in St. Louis it's good. I mean, O'Neill, Nootbaar, Carlson, even Yepes can play out there. He's DH. Me and Austin talked about him on a show that we recorded just the other day that's going to go live on the YouTube channel here in the next day or two. And it was sort of like where does the opportunity come unless there's an injury, obviously?
Well, I mean, you look at that outfield. Let's see. Tyler O'Neill's had 1 year where he didn't have issues, right?
Yeah.
The guy's had continual issues throughout his career staying healthy. There's just, and I mean in the minor leagues too, because every time I went to see him, he was hurt. So I blame that. If somebody wants to at me for saying that based on just one bad year where he was hurt all the time. But that's the thing is there's always going to be an injury that opens up. And I like their outfield too, but the one thing I see that's missing is they don't have the real big bopper in that outfield. And yes, they have it at first, and yes, they have it at third. But I think Yepes is more of a kind of a specialty type piece in that lineup. I really think that by the end of the year, this guy's in their regular lineup, and this guy is doing some business. But again. Always going to have some swing and miss to the profile. So far, it hasn't really showed in the minor leagues with strikeout rates, but I can tell you that we're talking about a swing and miss rate in the minor leagues around 35%. So that is a little scary.
Okay. You guys want to talk about Frelick or Kauser or?
I think we have to talk about Kauser with the Orioles fans, right?
Hell yeah.
Yes.
No, man. What's up?
I mean, so he's a guy that I feel like a broken record here, but the young hitters who struggle with the breaking stuff, and this is a guy that prime example of that, which leads to extraordinarily high strikeout rates, but I would also at the same time ironically argue that he has really good plate discipline as well, because it's
Walks
not
a lot too, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he walks a ton, and you don't walk on accident. So if he can get that contact under control, he's got the power already. So I'm not worried about his power. If anything, he's actually a guy that, you know, I expect that, you know, he will improve, you know, that swing and miss rate, and he'll start making more contact. He hits the hell out of the ball. So when he starts making contact, I think that you don't see the walks really dissipate, but you see the strikeouts dissipate a little bit, and that's just going to lead to, you know, more contact. He's going to get on base, probably have some more home runs with that power. So he's a guy that I actually think there's quite a bit of upside, you know, to what we've seen of him, because I feel like he can correct what his, you know, biggest issues are. So he's a guy that I think you're going to see, you know, this year. I don't know if we're going to see him in, you know, May, June, July, whenever, but I don't think you're going to wait a super long time before you see Cowser up at the big league level.
Cowser, somebody that like as soon as he gets called up, is he somebody like as soon as he like it's announced that he's getting called up, like you're running to the waiver wire if he's out there for some reason and you're snatching him or waiting and seeing?
It depends on your situation, but I mean
obviously, but
but yes, he would be a guy that
in most cases, yes,
I would be intrigued.
Like in most,
yes.
Okay, all right.
And I'm just going to add one of the things that the big criticism I heard from scouts, and from my editor Brett Hershey, who got a good look at him a few times this year, is he's way too patient early in at bats and lets hittable fastballs go by. We're talking about a guy that swings in the 30% range, which is kind of unheard of when she gets to the big leagues. So he's a guy that needs to be a little bit more aggressive and not get himself into breaking pitch counts. That's one of the things that really patient guys. You know, we saw Brandon Nimmo. Brandon Nimmo was one of those guys, and you know, we just talked about Corbin Carroll, and he was a guy that you know, he'll work counts and he'll see a lot of pitches, but if he gets that hittable fastball early in the count, he's going to at least swing at it, and try to do something with it. And that's where Colton Cowser is right now. He's not being aggressive on that fastball early. And to succeed in the major leagues, you've got to, you don't get many fastballs. You've got to hit those fastballs.
And I think that that's something that's very easily fixed.
Yeah, me too. I do want to say a thing about Sal Frelick. If you're buying any Brewers outfield rookie to be a contributor this year, I believe Sal Frelick is the only one that I would choose. Fantasy community likes Garrett Mitchell a lot more than the non-fantasy baseball community. We don't like his swing. Like, I'm like this weird guy. I'm both fantasy and I'm both like real world type deal. And that's kind of the concerning part of him. And then I just don't see Joey Weimer being a contributor this year. So if I'm picking anybody in a redraft from the crowded Brewers rookie class, it's going to be Sal Frelick.
All right. Cool. All right. So pitchers, we got a lot. So not gonna be able to speak on all of them, or the show would go another hour, I feel like. So we got Hunter Brown for the Astros. We got Ryan Papuit, or whatever, I don't know. Dodgers. Grayson Rodriguez for the Orioles. Yuri Perez for the Marlins. Daniel Espino for the Guardians. Bobby Miller for the Dodgers. Brandon, what? is that actually how it's spelled?
We're now to the point of the show where we've, consumed enough alcohol. We can't pronounce the names.
I mean, I can't pronounce that name no matter what. It doesn't matter. Yeah. For Arizona, and then Wilmer Flores for the Tigers.
It's Weird Al Yankovic's next name.
So Dave, I feel like you're gonna have to lead off here with Flores, but you don't have to. You can speak on anybody if you want.
I would like to talk about Daniel Espino then, because
awesome.
He
Guardians.
is actually, he's a guy that I said I was telling people at this time last year. Today, a year from then, what you see what I'm saying? I can't fucking talk, but I thought
a year ago today.
Yeah, I thought that today he was going to be the number one pitching prospect in all of baseball, and I was fairly confident in that. Now that didn't happen because he kind of didn't pitch. He was hurt, so that didn't really come to fruition. But I mean, this is a guy that stuff wise, it really doesn't get any better. And a lot of times that's the stuff that you can't teach. He's got a fastball that is ridiculous. I mean, he sits around 98. He can easily get it up over 100. His slider just absolutely lights out. He's got a good curveball to go along with it. He can throw a changeup in there as well. So I mean, he's got the entire repertoire. It's just now going to be a matter of can he stay healthy because he already had some reliever risk to him, which I guess you could probably say that about most guys. But my feeling was always that with how good his fastball and slider are, that even if he had to end up being a bullpen piece, that he could be an elite, just electric closer. This is a guy he's not going to do you any good, I don't think, in 2023 for redraft, just because he basically missed all of last year anyways. So he's probably going to start at AA. Everything goes well, maybe midseason he goes up to AAA. They're going to be limited as innings. So, even if he were to, let's say, make a major league, debut, it's probably going to be coming out of the bullpen, 10 or less inning kind of thing. So I don't know about for this year, but in general, Espino is one of my dudes.
All right.
I'm going to just throw a little on Espino because 2019 Georgia Cleveland Guardians draft class has already seen two guys in the major leagues, Hunter Gaddis and Zay Curry. So tremendous job by the scout there. Espino was his first round pick. It's just watching him from his high school days to when he debuted in Arizona Fall League will tell you everything you need to know about the Guardians pitching development staff. They cut down his arm path. It's workable. I think this is a starter. I think this is a special starter if he can stay healthy. This year it was a right knee injury that cost him time. It was an arm issue. This guy is a well-conditioned athlete. I'm for him. He's number 4 starting pitcher for me in dynasty rankings. But if we see him, we're going to see him very late, and I would imagine we're going to see him working out of the pen.
All right.
Can I pick somebody?
Yeah,
I was just going to say that. Go ahead.
All right.
Do your thing, man.
All right. Here's I don't want to kiss ass to the Orioles fans, so I'm not going to pick Grayson Rodriguez.
Somebody's got to talk about Grayson Rodriguez. I'm going to make it happen.
It's going to be you then, Joe.
Yeah.
But I am going to say, there's a guy that I've seen kind of sneak into some redraft leagues, and I just don't see it possible that he has significant innings this year, and that's Yuri Perez. Talking about a guy that I think I don't know what his combined innings pitch. I don't have that in front of me, but I think his career innings pitch is about 150, something around there. He had 77 last year. He's my number 2 actually dynasty SP guy right now. I haven't seen a guy this tall with this good a command at this young of age ever.
6'8".
It's a pretty tremendous profile. There's at least 3+ pitches here if they all develop. I've seen, I think it's Baseball America that might have had 4+ pitches. The more I think about it, maybe Baseball HQ had it too. I was the one that wrote them up, and I'm looking at my own right up right now, and I'm like, oh wait, I called them all 4 best pitches. It's kind of like lenient on. I was
meet these people
with the curveball. I was like on the fence, and I went with a 6 on it. But the changeup is really a tremendous pitch for him. Late tumbling, he repeats really well. But the thing is, again, just like Espino, I don't really see him being in the rotation this year. If he's up, it's late, and maybe it's a few starts. But like he also missed a lot of time last year because of oblique injury in the middle of the summer. So, dim the brakes, right?
Yeah, I mean the Marlins if there's anything going for them, they have a decent rotation, even though they traded, away one of their best arms. But they still have just a plethora of good pitchers. Rogers is wait and see at this point, but hopefully he can get back to at least somewhat of what we saw a couple years ago from him. But yeah, it's going to be hard to break into that rotation for any prospect. Obviously injuries are going to play a big part of it, and you're going to need to rest guys. But nobody's going to talk about Rodriguez. I mean, this guy is projected right now by Roster Resource to be the 5th starter. I don't know if that's actually realistic, but I mean, he's also like one of the top prospects, if not the top prospect, for pitchers on a couple of lists. Like anybody? No.
I mean, I don't think it's not unheard of, but I don't think he makes the opening day roster.
Okay.
I mean, he only threw 75 innings last year, so even if he were to make the opening day roster, I can't imagine they're going to let him throw more than. I mean, God, 120 innings would be pretty spectacular if you got that out of him. So
that'd be a lot, yeah.
Yeah, so no, I think he's a guy that you don't see until I don't know, May, June, that kind of time frame. But I mean, yes, he definitely is maybe currently like the best pitcher right now. I could say in the minor leagues. The guys for me. Having a 4-pitch mix is extremely important. I don't think that you can rely on, 2 or 3 pitches, even if they're like elite kind of pitches. And so he's got a 4-pitch mix. I think 3 of those pitches, could be plus. I'm a huge spin rate guy, and so his fastball, he can get it up around 100, but with a lot of spin. And so you could throw the ball theoretically 110 miles an hour, and if it's straight, you're going to get smoked,
Yeah.
And so when you can combine, elite velocity with elite spin rate on a pitch, that all of a sudden becomes extraordinarily special. And those are the kind of things that really separate people, from one another. So I would hold your hopes on him making the open day roster, but you might end up getting. You might get 75, 80 innings out of him at the big league level this year.
So I'm rolling my dice here. I'm going to say opening day roster.
Okay.
Because Brent Hershey said it in his write-up for the website. So we're going to say opening day roster. I got to go with my boss on this one. So, he's everything that Dave said he was. There's no deception here. There is some concern for me long term with the changeup usage, just because it's that sort of changeup doesn't really do the arm much good. It's not one of those pitches that's very easy to throw, but just having that in his arsenal of pitches is going to make everything better. And I like him when he works mid 90s. I know he touches 100, but his the movement, the ride of the pitch, even some of the run of the pitch is better at that lower velocity range. So just a great guy. You guys are special. You guys have some special prospects, special young players.
Hoping it finally works out. It's been a long time since I've been able to.
You've got
with the Orioles.
You've got one of the top 6 best player development groups out there right now. So granted, you're not the Dodgers. Nobody's the Dodgers, but
they're just going to Dodger all of their prospects. So it doesn't even matter.
Real quick with Rodriguez, so where are you comfortable drafting him? His ADP right now on average is 186. So it's pretty low. You don't have to go crazy with him.
That's it,
But
yeah.
are you comfortable drafting him, even if he doesn't make the opening day roster? Like, are you comfortable drafting him and holding him for a month per se? If that's gonna be what happens.
I mean, I'm not, but
Okay, Chris.
I'm interested where his price will be. I'm in the AL only tout.
That'll be interesting.
And I'm very interested. I was last place last year, and it was because I took some speculative looks at some prospects like Rodriguez, who I thought might, be in the big leagues at some point. And so I think I've learned my lesson. I don't know if I bid on him. I know that's not a true redraft; it's an auction draft, and it's AL only, which makes it even more difficult. But I just don't like rookie pitching. Yeah, I mean, I'm like the rookies that I try to get are guys that I think are undervalued by the redraft community in these drafts. Guys that I know are going to make throw innings that aren't necessarily the names like Grayson Rodriguez. And like this year, we didn't talk about him, but like I'm very high on Will Brennan being somebody as an outfielder, just because I don't see where the playing time limitations are going to eventually come. I think Oscar Gonzalez just burns. I'm not a big Oscar Gonzalez guy, so like I think that there's going to be plenty of playing time for Will Brennan. So like I'm picking him, towards the end, towards like the 30th round or something like that of a redraft. That's my plan. My one redraft that I'm going to be in. That's my plan to do. Is I believe that. So I look at pitchers that are not the Grayson Rodriguez's of the world. I look for the guys, and of course I'm stalling because I can't think of anybody right now. So
all right. Well,
oh God.
So Dave, we got a bunch of pitchers here. So like, is there anybody else here that it's interesting for a redraft type league?
For a redraft type league, well, you'd ask.
I know
me
we say
earlier
we
to
don't
talk-
like drafting rookie pitchers, but I mean, look, people are going to go after these guys. So who is anybody that, if you're going to, that's the one to go after?
I mean, Hunter Brown is a guy.
Okay.
I know he's on the list, and again, we're talking about a guy who's playing for a team with the Astros that I think does a really good job of developing their talent. So I feel like we're
Made
probably
Chris
running
Morton a thing.
But we're probably running a little long here. But I mean, he's a guy who has got great stuff. He's kind of a local kid for me, coming out of Detroit as well. So I guess that makes me a little bit biased here. But the only thing that's going to stop him from making the opening day rotation is just because they have good arms already. On a lot of teams, I think he'd kind of be a no-brainer to go ahead and get in there. But he's a guy that you're going to see. So from a redraft perspective, if we're talking about, like rookies,
he is
that's
basically
the guy.
going undrafted. He's 230 ADP. Like in a redraft league, that's like getting near the end. If
Yeah,
not
I mean,
past the
and
end.
even in the little sample that he had, of his time last year, he was pretty good. I mean, he wasn't really getting hit. So great stuff, and that's kind of stuff when it comes to pitching. My default is I will trust and I will take a chance on stuff,
Luis Ortiz is a guy too, like guy that looked pretty good in a small sample. That's a Pittsburgh Pirates pitcher. There's another Luis Ortiz out there. We're not talking about him, but this one particularly has a good pitch mix. It's a 3-pitch mix. I'm not talking about a guy that I think is going to be like SP3 or SP4, but like he's a good late round pick. I have him in one of my dynasty leagues, and I expect him to be a starter this year for me because I think he's going to have some innings, and another reason is I'm rebuilding this team too. So like I don't really care where I finish, but I think I think he'll produce, and I think that's hard to find. Is guys that will produce. Cody Morris has a chance of doing that. The Guardians guy, he had a really good September, October in the big leagues. He walked a little more, which was uncharacteristic, but like he's another kind of sleeper guy that I'm targeting late in these drafts.
All right. So let's stick with pitchers. We'll go reverse order here and just fuck everybody up. Future stars. So this one again is a little near and dear to me, but Mr. Andrew Painter.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen his ETA kind of all over the place, whether or not he's going to come up this year, next year, whatever. I mean, it's I don't know. I'll leave that up to you guys, but what do you think about Painter versus, a Hunter Brown or a Rodriguez? That's
for me.
Both have really good stuff.
For me, I ranked him as my top pitching prospect in both my fantasy and my real world Lindy's baseball preview phenoms ranking.
Okay.
And that's the thing. Like, I feel like Painter, Rodriguez, and Perez are. I think you can't go wrong with picking one of them over the other one. Like, I think they're that closely matched. I think Espino would be right there with him if he only threw 20 innings. Painter is just so smooth, so easy. The command is exceptional for age level stuff. All of those things. It's basically 3-pitch mix. But I love all those pitches. I think that they're all great pitches. I'm not the biggest tunnel guy anymore, but like he does a good job of, keeping people off of that fastball. It's a dynamic fastball, but like there's that threat. It's obvious watching video from behind home plate that guys don't really get a good look at what's coming at them. So there is rumors that he could be on the opening day roster.
Yeah.
If you listen to Dave Dombrowski, that's a big possibility.
Yeah.
I'm one of those guys that if there's, you only have so many bullets as a pitcher. A 20-year-old rookie, that sounds a little, there's some worrisome there. But like he dominated throughout his campaign. His opponent batting average, the highest it was at any level was 227 with Reading. And like the command, I mean, he just was so good. So I'm in on him for 2023 and beyond, obviously, since I have him ranked number 1 on multiple lists.
Yeah. Dave, thoughts on Painter?
I would be blown away if he made the opening day roster. I mean, with that being said, he is, and I hate pitching prospects. Let's just be clear about that. If everyone here didn't already know that, but if I'm taking a guy, that he is what they look like. He's big. He's 6'7". He's like 220. So that's obviously a good start. But he's a guy that has command. And for a kid that isn't even 20 years old yet, to have that kind of command that early, that to me is huge, because that's usually the last thing that comes along. That's kind of the last piece to the puzzle.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's got, again, I'm a spin rate guy, so he's got such a high spin rate on these pitches, and that causes all these strikeouts. But it's not like he's walking guys. So he is about as good of a pitching prospect as I could hope for. But I think opening day is asking a lot.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we are running a little long, so I'm gonna kind of condense this. So AJ started the conversation. So we focused on like the guys that are on the doorstep, and Painter is kind of like the good like bridge to this. We've got a list of guys here who we consider the future stars. So, we focus on redraft. You guys, you and, Dave and Chris, when I say you guys, you two are, future dynasty, your scouts, you look ahead. So let's put on our dynasty hats for a second. And I'm just gonna rip through a bunch of names. You guys can pick one or two to talk about here, and I'll continue with the pitchers since AJ started there already. We got Kyle Harrison, Yosver Zuleta, outfield. We got Zach Veen, Drew Jones, third base Curtis Mead, shortstop again loaded as AJ mentioned earlier. Royce Lewis, who he debuted already, but obviously had the ACL injury, so. It'd just be interesting to hear what you have to say about him. But Marcelo Mayer, Jordan Lawler, Jackson Holliday, second base, Tamar Johnson, first base, Tyler Soderstrom, and then catcher, Diego Cartaya. So, Chris, who on this list intrigues you the most, from a dynasty standpoint at this point?
I mean, who of all those guys? I'm really intrigued by Jackson Holliday, but I don't want to talk about an Orioles guy. Stop doing it.
No, that's fine. You're intrigued by him, so move it on. Who's another one that intrigues you?
So since I am able to talk about anybody, I would like to spin webs about Kyle Manzardo, just because I think that the real world folks are undervaluing him a bit, and the fantasy guys, I think.
What position? Because I didn't listen.
He's a first baseman.
Okay.
He's left. He's good. He's really good. I think he has a double plus hit tool. That's what I scouted both in high A and double A. I heard people try to pick out some things that they didn't like about him. But like watching him conducting at bat, one of the things is people didn't believe he'd hit for enough power. I think he showed people last season in hitting environments that aren't the greatest, that he can get under a ball, he can get lost, he can hit balls hard. I know that's the simplest term, but this guy for me is a first base prospect that I might have ahead of all the other ones. I argued a lot with myself about putting him ranking him higher on my real world list than Tristan Casas. I ended up going with Casas. I probably would go with Casas today, but really like him. Other name there is we need to figure out where Curtis Mead plays. List second base, third base. Dude's exit velocities are off the charts. The guy's just a hitter. He was a former Phillies prospect that they acquired in a dump deal, I think, for Christopher Sanchez.
Yes.
That worked out great. That's worked out great for the Phillies. I'm just hating on the Phillies because I said good things about Painter. But yeah, again, it's just a matter of finding a position for him. We cover Rays prospects, but Rays prospects are the hardest to figure out ETAs for. They're the hardest to figure out how they're going to fit on the team. You almost need somebody to trade for one of them to really get a clear view of who they are. Nathaniel Lowe is a perfect example. We know he's going to be the first baseman for the Rangers, right? We know that. We have no idea other than a couple players who's going to get the majority at bats at a given position for the Rays. So it's just with these guys, I would never put any of them in that first, talking about them. But they're guys that we need to know about because I think they're going to hit when they get to the major leagues, whenever that is. Mead sometime this season, likely. Manzardo could get here next season, but it's probably 2024 at best.
All right, Dave, you got anybody you want to mention from this list, or somebody else in general, just who intrigues you from a dynasty standpoint here?
There's two guys that I am interested in. One guy, Tyler Soderstrom. I seen a lot of Tyler Soderstrom. I don't know if I've seen more of him than anybody else, but I've seen him day after day for a long time the last couple of years, and he is a guy that it
has
really
a restraining order against you, from what I'm reading right now.
I don't know. He might. But he seemed like he
really shots fired, Chris. Love it. That might be better than your tweet to AJ about his birthday.
But he really struggled early on, awesome. And I don't know if it was just like the cold weather or whatnot, but at the beginning of this season, I was really, really worried about him because every time I'd go watch him play, 0 for 2, 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts, and he'd hit a ball hard, but it'd be right at somebody. And then as the weather started to warm up, he absolutely took off. And all of a sudden, he was hitting a home run like every game, and when he didn't, he was flying out to the warning track. And it seemed like every time, it almost seemed like at times when he was in his hot streak, which lasted for an extended period of time, it almost looked like he was bored up at the plate, because if he would get up and the bases were empty, you never know what you're going to get from him. But when he come up and somebody was on base, I swear to God, he was getting hit like every time. He was so clutch. Couple game-winning home runs, and he's just a kid that has got way more power than I think he's even given credit for. And I don't think he's going to stick behind the plate. That's, he kind of was splitting time between catching and first base, but I think ultimately he becomes a first baseman. And at some point, I think he just stops catching entirely. And the other guy that I'm been in on here for quite a while and finally got to see him play a little bit last year is Diego Cartaya. And, this is a guy that, he's still going to be, a little ways away, because defensively, he's got a very long way to go. He's really going to have to do some serious work back there, because, he just, his receiving isn't good. He doesn't block the ball all that well. He really doesn't throw anybody out. But as far as a bat is concerned, he's going to make a fantasy impact wherever he ends up. I imagine he sticks behind the plate, because I don't really know that he, profiles anywhere else. But big hit tool, power tool. I saw him very patient at the plate, was not afraid, to take pitches. And when he swung and when he made contact, he hit the ball hard. He struck out a little bit, but again, at his age, I get it. I'm more impressed with, his walk numbers. It's really going to come down for him, I think. Is he defensively going to be able to make it at the big league level, because his bat plays?
He's, I'm looking at him because I'll be honest, like I hadn't really heard of him until tonight. He started out in 2019 in rookie ball, and it's already and I know the minor leagues had that lost season, so that's a little bit there, but he's still only as high as A+ ball as of last year. So he's struggling to like climb through the levels, it feels like. What's any reason for that, or is that something to be concerned about?
He's getting dodgered.
I would not be concerned with that, because he's a catcher.
Yeah.
Okay.
They take a while to develop.
I was gonna say he's 21, and you see that's
doesn't mean much for
not super old, but you would expect at 21. You see a lot of these other prospects that I've been looking up tonight. At 21, if they're high top prospects like this, they're already like at least AA at 21.
Yeah, catchers are just a little bit different though. They take a lot longer to develop. You don't see catchers at the big league level at 20 years old.
Sure.
And I think you're also seeing we talked about Francisco Alvarez, who's 21 in the big leagues, and you could see in his AA and AAA action how raw he was. We talked about breaking ball recognition earlier and went on and on about it, but it was a time in AAA, it was 50% of the breaking pitches he swung at, he missed, Alvarez. So there's something to say sometimes about keeping a guy like Cartaya on a slower burn as a catcher because they're worried about so much. Like you're talking about game planning with the pitcher, all the things that you have to do defensively, and then game planning at bats. Like and that's why what I said earlier, I trust rookies that have more contact at catcher than those power guys, just because at least they don't have to worry about the contact part of the game. But yeah, like I mean, him being there is not a scary thing. And he does not have a restraining order against Dave, so that's good too.
No, he doesn't. And if I got served one, it probably wouldn't be in English, so I wouldn't understand it anyways.
Yeah, yeah, and like Soderstrom, I'm just curious where he shops. I mean, I'm and like how he performs when he's getting home cooking, when his parents are in town, and like that kind of thing. That's what you need to find out, Dave.
Big mac and cheese guy.
I don't know what's going on here anymore. All right. On that note, I think we're gonna close it out. This was a great show, guys.
On the mac and cheese.
I appreciate you guys coming on, Chris. I'll let you go first here. Let everybody know where they can find you on Twitter, what you got going on this season, and promote whatever you want to do. You
might need like 5 minutes for me to do this. I am at Baseball HQ. My Twitter is C_blessing. Big stuff coming to Baseball HQ this year. We've expanded. We're going to be expanding some of our minors coverage, getting more into dynasty baseball. I'm the scouty guy. I got some really good writers, and we're gonna take advantage of that. Also going to be adding another scouty type writer like myself with some good fantasy background as well. We'll be making announcements in the coming weeks, all that good stuff. And it's been great this year because I'm now considered the director of prospect analysis, and I joke with my friends. I have 2 friends that are assistant directors for organization scouting departments right now, and I just like to tell them and give them a hard time that I'm a director before they even got to director. So granted, it's not paying the same as what their director job was, but still. I also right now minor league baseball analyst is for sale. Baseball HQ. You'll be able to buy it on bookshelves. That's our book, Baseball Forecaster. I have an article in that. The I Have It podcast. We're going to be kind of changing up the format a bit about that. I'm only going to have a co-host half the time. Brent is only going to be there half the time this year. So I'm going to bring on a lot of different guests from different points of view. Sometimes it might not be a dynasty or an at-part guy. It might be, hopefully I can use some of my contacts to get some org guys in there to maybe talk the trade of scouting. And just there's a lot of things going on. I just got a lot going, guys. I'm always very fortunate to be on this podcast. This has been what 3-4 years that we've done this.
Yeah, I would say at least 3 years. It's probably I think it actually is 4.
And I'm so like the best thing that we did for this conversation was bring Dave along. That was a great move by y'all last year because we got
yelled at me enough to bring him on the show, so I kind of felt like I had to.
Yeah,
hey, that was $20 well spent on that part.
And it just I like you guys so much, all 3 of you. And like I look forward to this podcast. I get nervous for the other ones just because I'm afraid I'm going to screw up. But on here, I feel like if I screw up, we're all just going to laugh, right? And you're going to make fun of me, and then I'm going to throw jokes at you. So thank you, as always, for having me.
Nah, it's awesome, man. We love having you here. So, Dave, you got any closing remarks?
I mean, not really. I'm not really doing anything solo for the moment. So everything I'm doing is stuff you've already talked about. So I think I'm good.
Yeah. Well, follow him on Twitter at Corporal Eddy. It's sitting there on the screen. It will be in the show notes as well. Obviously, Dave's got his fantastic Dynasty baseball rankings on our site, which are sadly now behind the paywall, but It is worth it, guys. It's like 600 players deep, something like that. It's
Worth the
crazy.
paywall.
Very good stuff. So
How much is your paywall?
So $10 a month, and then obviously if you pay up front, it's you have substantial savings, and then obviously promo code F6PMLB for 15% off. So it's good stuff.
See, I'm
But
like
it's all the sports. It's all the sports, man. So you get betting, you get DFS, you get draft tools, you get cheat sheets, you get projections, optimize. There's a lot there, guys. It's worth it. I promise you. We had lots of success with the football subscriptions that we had this past fall. So we opened it up to everything. So all right, guys, that is it for the show. I want to thank you all for listening, and Dave and Chris, thank you for joining us. AJ, I guess you too.
I was here.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, moving
I
the
read a
camera in
few
your
things,
face, and I
drank
don't know
a
what's
couple
going on.
beers,
Sure, yeah.
fucked with
All
my
right, guys.
camera. So yeah,
We will we will be back next week, same time, same channel. So see y'all then. Peace.
All right, later.